When I got into an accident, my daughter refused to come to the hospital to sign the surgery papers. She just sent a cold text. "I'm busy right now. Is this really that urgent?" I stared at the screen, barely able to breathe. Tubes in my arms. Blood still on my shirt. The nurse hovered near my bed, her expression tight. "Sir, we can't proceed without a family signature." And my only child, my pride, just brush it off. "My name is Walter Briggs. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever raised someone with every drop of patience, only to realize, when you needed a moment of it in return, they had none left for you?" I built her world, her dance classes, her first car, even the down payment on that oversized house she now called home. But when I was the one lying broken in a sterile white room, she weighed me against her manicure appointment. And I lost. It was my brother Earl who came. A man with a crooked smile and two bum knees who hadn't stepped foot in a hospital in years. But when he heard, he dropped everything and ran. He signed the papers. He sat by my bed through the storm. And when I woke up, groggy and stitched, it wasn't my daughter's voice I heard. It was his hand that gripped mine. "You're not alone, Walt," he said softly. Even if she forgot, I didn't. And that day, something inside me shifted. I didn't get angry. I didn't cry. But I took notes. Every small thing I ever did for her, I saw it in reverse now. A life of silent service, erased in a single cold text. For months later, she would need something from me. And for the first time in my life, I would not show up. Because some lessons only life can teach. Recovery was slow. My hands trembled for weeks. My legs were stiff. Even tying my own shoes felt like a mountain. But what hurt more was silence. She never followed up. "No, Dad, are you okay?" No visit. Not even a voicemail. But her Instagram told another story. Cocktails in Santa Barbara. A spa trip in Tahoe. Brunch with the caption, "Self-care is not selfish. Self-care." I read it from a wheelchair in my living room, heart monitor still strapped to my chest. Earl visited every other day. Brought soup. Fixed the faulty porch light. Sat with me during those long afternoons when the clock seemed stuck. "I never liked how she spoke to you," he muttered once, watching me struggle with a spoon. "Like you were an afterthought in your own house." I didn't answer, because deep down I already knew. I had enabled it, excused it, told myself she was stressed, tired, young. But she wasn't young anymore. She was 34, married, with a son I barely saw. And 4 months after the accident, she called. Her voice was sugary at first. Nervous laughter, like she was testing the waters. Then she said, "Dad, we have a bit of a situation. Ethan was in a car accident. He's fine, but the hospital needs a family member to authorize post-op." I sat still, like stone. She kept talking. "Rushing now. His parents are out of the country, and Kevin's stuck at work. So, I thought, maybe you could." I interrupted. "Didn't you say once," I asked quietly, "that things like this weren't that urgent?" Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. She exhaled, like she just realized where this was going. I looked out the window as a leaf drifted down from the old oak tree in my yard. And I said, with the gentlest voice I could muster, "I hope someone shows up for you the way Earl did for me." Then I ended the call. Some doors don't slam. They just close. I thought she'd call back. She didn't. Not that day. Not the next. But on the third morning, I woke to a knock. Sharp. Repeated. Like urgency disguised as manners. I opened the door to find her standing there, pale, hair undone, mascara smudged just enough to look unplanned. "Dad," she said. No hug. No warmth. Just 2 syllables that used to mean everything. I stepped aside. She didn't sit. Just stood in my living room, eyes scanning the familiar walls. Family photos, the old mantel clock, the recliner I always fixed for her when she was sick as a child. "I didn't mean to be cruel," she said finally. "I was overwhelmed that day. I didn't realize how serious it was." 4 months. And that's the apology? I looked at her. This woman I once carried on my shoulders through state fairs and rainy football games, and realized something brutal. She knew it was serious. She just didn't care enough to come. I didn't yell, didn't scold. I simply said, "You taught me something. That people only value what you let them lose." She stiffened. "Dad, Ethan needs you. He's scared. He's asking for you." I wanted to cry, not out of love, but out of recognition. Because I'd said those same words to her nurse once. He's scared. He needs family. And she hadn't come. So I shook my head. "You made your choice when you left me alone in that hospital. And now, I'm simply following the path you laid." She blinked. Once. Twice. "You're punishing me." I didn't answer that. Because it wasn't punishment. It was reflection. I watched her go, her footsteps hesitant now, as if gravity itself had turned against her. And when the door shut behind her, I whispered into the silence, "Maybe now you'll understand what it means to matter less than convenience." Outside, the wind picked up. Inside, I sat down and breathed for the first time in weeks. The next week, the calls started coming. From her husband, then her in-laws, even her best friend, the one who once told me, "You're lucky to have a daughter like her." Each one had the same tone, guilt wrapped in urgency. "She's not sleeping. She's worried sick. She just wants to make things right." But no one asked how I had slept when I was bleeding in a hallway waiting for a signature. No one wondered how I healed when silence was the only medicine I was offered. I kept my phone on silent. Earl chuckled when he heard the latest. "She's not used to hearing no from you," he said, sipping his coffee on my porch. "I think," I replied, "she's not used to understanding the cost of that no." He nodded. "You always gave her the soft landings." I did. Every single time. When she failed biology, I paid for tutoring. When she dropped out of grad school, I never questioned it. When her husband lost his job, I floated their mortgage for 6 months. And when she walked away from me in that hospital, I finally saw it. Love wasn't enough. Boundaries were missing. And now, so was I. On the 8th day, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. The handwriting was shaky. Hers. "Dad, I messed up. I don't deserve forgiveness. But Ethan keeps asking why his grandpa doesn't visit. I told him you were busy. Just like I told myself when I didn't show up for you. But I lied. To him. To myself. To you. If you can't forgive me, I'll understand. But if you ever change your mind, we'd love to see you Sunday at 3. Ethan wants to show you the painting he made. It's of you." I folded the letter carefully, placed it beside my chair. Didn't move. Didn't cry. Because something in me had shifted again, not in anger, but in stillness. And sometimes stillness is where the loudest truths echo. Sunday at 3 came and went. I didn't go. Instead, I sat on my porch with Earl, listening to the wind drag its fingers across the rusted chimes. We didn't speak much, just drank our coffee, watching time unfold like a quiet protest. She'd left a second letter in the mailbox by Monday. I understand now. Truly. I'm not writing to fix it, just to say I see it. I see you. And I'm sorry I waited until the mirror cracked before I looked in it. There was no manipulation in her words. No guilt. Just something I hadn't felt from her in years. Truth. But I was tired of building bridges for people who only remember the river when they were drowning. Still, I couldn't throw the letter away. I kept it in the drawer next to my reading glasses. That Thursday, I saw her car pass my street. Not fast. Not slow. Just hopeful. She didn't stop. But I knew she was checking to see if the lights were on, if the porch was swept, if the man she forgot once might still be watching. And I was. Watching everything. Not with bitterness, but with a clarity age gives you when love has been misused. Then something changed. Ethan came to my door. Alone. A tiny boy with wild hair and hands full of glue-stained paper. "I made this for you, Grandpa," he said, holding up a painting. It was of a man and a little boy sitting under a tree eating ice cream. I told Mommy I'd walk. It's only 4 blocks. I knelt slowly, knees aching, heart unsure. "And she let you come?" He nodded. "She said maybe I could remind you how to smile again." That night, I put the painting on my wall. right next to the clock. It didn't fix the past, didn't erase the silence, but it told me one thing clear as daylight. My daughter might have forgotten how to love me, but she raised a boy who still knew how. He came back the next Sunday, this time with his backpack and a small red box. Inside was a chess set, plastic, cheap, but his eyes lit up like it was gold. "Mom said you used to play with Uncle Earl," he beamed. I glanced at the driveway. Empty. She didn't come? He shook his head, setting up the board. "She said if I come alone, maybe you'll feel safe enough to say hello again someday." It was odd to hear the word safe tied to me. But the truth is, when someone wounds you in silence, it's not the yelling that scares you. It's the quiet that follows. The wondering if your pain ever echoed in their heart the way theirs did in yours. He beat me in 4 moves. Twice. Then we sat on the porch and watched the sunset melt across the sky like spilled jam. "I think she's really sorry," he said suddenly, not looking at me. "But she doesn't know how to say it to your face." I didn't answer. Because forgiveness is not a door you walk through. It's one you build slowly, with trembling hands and memories that still sting. He pulled out another paper. A drawing of me, smiling. "I told Mom this is how I remember you. From before." I think she misses that version too. I studied the lines. My eyes had more spark. My mouth curved upward like hope was still a habit. Maybe the boy wasn't just bringing me pictures. Maybe he was bringing her apology. Earl came by that evening. Saw the chessboard still open. She sent him. I nodded. He didn't say much. Just looked at the painting, then at me. "Sometimes," he murmured, "love skips a generation, only to return wiser in the next." That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, tea in hand, lights low, and for the first time since the accident, I wondered not about what I'd lost, but about what might still be found. I didn't expect what came next. The knock was gentle this time, not desperate, not dramatic, just human. When I opened the door, she was standing there. No makeup, no practiced posture, just a woman stripped down to her truths. "I won't stay," she said quickly. "I know I gave up that right. I just wanted to say thank you for not slamming the door on Ethan." Her voice shook, just enough to betray the calm she tried to wear. I didn't move, just listened. She reached into her coat and pulled out a photo. It was of me, holding her as a baby years ago, at the county fair, cotton candy smeared across her cheek. "He found this," she said, and taped it to his bedroom mirror. "Said he wanted to remember the version of you that always showed up." She paused. I forgot that version too. Silence lingered like fog between us. Then she looked at me, not as a daughter pleading for forgiveness, but as a woman finally facing herself. "I left you in that hospital, and I've lived with that choice every day. Not just because it hurt you, but because it changed me. It made me someone I never wanted to be." I exhaled slowly. My hands trembled again, not from weakness, but from memory. She placed the photo gently on the porch railing. Didn't try to force it into my hand. "I won't ask to be let back in. That's not my place to decide anymore. But if you ever do, you'll find me sitting exactly where I should have been that day, waiting." She turned, walked down the steps, and sat on the curb. Not in her car, not on her phone, just there, like a child sent to time out, but this time by her own guilt. Earl came by hours later, found us both sitting in silence, me on the porch, her on the street. He didn't ask what happened. He just placed 2 mugs on the porch table and whispered, "Looks like the world finally got quiet enough for her to hear her own heart." I let her sit there, not for revenge, but because sometimes a heart needs stillness to remember how to beat right. The sky turned amber, then blue, then a kind of velvet black that only comes when you're honest with yourself. She stayed, didn't move, didn't knock again. Ethan arrived around 8 p.m., walking, just like before. A blanket tucked under his arm, a flashlight in hand. "Mom said we're camping under the stars," he grinned. "She said it's her turn to wait." He sat on the lawn, beside her, laid the blanket out, pulled out that chess set again. From the porch, I could barely see them in the dim glow of the streetlight. A mother and her son, quiet, humbled, hoping. And then, Without thinking, I stood. Each step toward them was heavy, not from pain, but release. She looked up when my shadow crossed her lap. Tears welled, but she didn't speak. I sat. Not in forgiveness. Not in surrender. Just beside her. We played a game. She watched us. Said nothing. Only smiled once when Ethan checkmated me. Again. When he fell asleep beside her, I finally whispered, "He's good." She nodded. "He learns fast." We sat in that unspoken peace until dawn. The kind of peace that doesn't erase the past, but wraps it in quiet understanding. When I stood to leave, she looked up and asked, "Do you think I could come by again sometime?" I looked at Ethan, then at her, then at the photo she had left on my porch, now folded neatly in her lap. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. And sometimes that's where healing begins. Not with a door wide open, but with a porch light left on. For those who finally remember how to come home the right way.